Coming up tonight on Primetime Local News, Mayor Gerald Albers takes us through the year at City Hall. Plus, we find out more about the dismissal of Wrestlers head coach Chris King. And the number of homeless people in Saskatchewan has skyrocketed in recent years.
Primetime Local News, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Hello and welcome to Primetime Local News. I'm Lane Hoffert. Lloydminster experienced a lot this year, from the municipal election, capital projects completed, and of course the Saskatchewan Summer Games. Our Callan Dunlop sat down with the Mayor of Lloydminster for his thoughts and reflection of the year as a whole.
Today I'm joined by the Mayor of Lloydminster, Gerald Albers. Thank you so much for coming down to the station today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation.
And we are here today, as what we do every year, to recap the year. And to start, I really just want to get your personal emotions tied to this year and how you feel about it.
Well, certainly 2024 is, there's a lot of things that have happened throughout the city and throughout the provinces and the country. So they all have an effect in Lloydminster when it rolls back. And going backwards, I guess the election of a new municipal government, a new council to join myself, being acclaimed was a real honor and a privilege, to say the least, from that perspective. And as we just back up, we just had an incredible, great fall for farmers and for the community. We saw a very, very busy summer. Springtime, you know, we got through the winter as we always do, and we started again. Of course, there was construction season, as people remind me, and winter season. So, you know, 2024 covered a lot of bases. We saw a provincial election, municipal election, from that perspective. So, and you know, we hosted two premiers in this city this summer, in September, which was really terrific to see. That's such an important piece, because the provinces play such a huge role in the governance and funding of the city.
I wanted to jump into some of the big capital projects that Lloyd completed over the duration of the year. The big one that I wanted to talk about was the wastewater treatment facility. And this is just such a big thing for the city of Lloydminster, and something that we've talked about at length. But if you could just talk to me about everything surrounding that.
Well, the wastewater treatment facility was one of those projects that it showed up early in the first council I was elected to in 2016. And certainly we faced some challenges with the federal government, because the regulations of our discharge, not as much about the facility, but the discharge, but that is the facility and what happens. So that led us on a little mission of 3 years of fundraising with the two provincial governments and the federal government, understanding the need and why it was important, because it wasn't just for our city. Our water is discharged to the North Saskatchewan River, which affects every water user downstream of us, all the way to the Hudson Bay. So there's a responsibility on the city to ensure that we did the best that we could do. Administration pulled together and came forward with a plan that said, this is the best long-term option we can give. They gave us 5 options, and the option that was chosen and is constructed is, from a perspective, the best option that we looked at for both a cost effectiveness to build, but also the operation costs, which we can never forget, because those operational costs will be with us forever. So that's what led us to where we're at. 3 years of, I call, fundraising and grant securing, 3 years of construction, built with an integrated project delivery model that was new to us and new to the community, where, you know, some people referred to it as a barn raising with money involved. Neighbors all came together. All our contractors came together, worked side by side with the city, with their operations team that was there every day that are going to operate it. And having had experience in the oil and gas industry and watching projects sometimes not go as well as they'd hoped, I think this one I've heard nothing but compliments all the way around, and it's an award-winning project on a few levels, both national and provincial. So, you know, it speaks highly of our team at the city, our contractors, our subcontractors, and the community as a whole.
It's a great thing for the city of Lloydminster to have, and you can't talk Lloydminster in 2024 without mentioning the Saskatchewan Summer Games.
The Saskatchewan Summer Games, you know, what a challenge to have everyone been phased for 2020. The committee, fundraising, sponsors, donors, the medals were bought. This is what's interesting. The medals were bought, the clothes were bought, because they were long lead. And we know what happened with the pandemic and COVID-19. And it was really a downer in 2020 when we couldn't produce those games, and talked about it in 2021, hoping we could just put a slash over the 0 and put a 1 on the close and things like that. Creative thinking, but as it was, there was no games held. So Saskatchewan Summer Games Committee was agreeable to let us have another shot at it. Council approved going back to 2024, and 2024 came. What a team. Some new members of the Games Committee, the host committee, others had been seasoned, to say the least, had worked on a number of games, which we appreciate. Brought those experiences together. At the end of the day, the community, the provinces, and the country, because we had people volunteering from across Canada that found out about the games and said, I want to come to Lloydminster and be part of it. And that was just terrific. Parents supported it, volunteered, that were there with their family members, because they wanted to be part of that. And I think we hosted one of the best games ever in Saskatchewan. Our venues were top notch. Our volunteers, again, huge congratulations to the community, to the volunteers, the organizing committee. I received a number of compliments about how beautiful our city was, how friendly we were, how accommodating we were. Local businesses stepped up, and this was their opportunity to shine, because often people drive through our city and they don't really get to see our city the way they should. And I think the Summer Games was just one example that it helped promote our city to the rest of Saskatchewan and other people.
Such a great event for Lloyd and everybody who visited Lloyd as well. I wanted to pivot to council chambers. There was a lot of change this year with the municipal election, and I kind of wanted to just touch on, it's only been a month basically of you guys, so I really wanted to just get your initial thoughts on this new council group with the 3 newcomers and 3 returning.
So yeah, and let's talk about the year in 2024 as council. We saw a resignation, and then we had one of our members pass away. Councillor Fagnan passed away. So we did have a by-election. So we ended up, and that Councillor Lopez had the opportunity to run again and was re-elected, which was terrific. So we've got 2 council members that have served in 2 former councils. Councillor Lopez had that 7-8 months of experience back at the table, and 3 new individuals from the community. The diversity from age and the makeup of our council members is terrific. It's so important to have youth, and we do have some youth there for sure, as well as people that have family members involved in schools, recreation, and activities, as well as us all being involved in recreation and cultural activities throughout the city, gives the council a very diverse experience to draw on. And you're going to see that, I think, for the next 4 years, where people will say, hey, this is the way it was when I was born and raised here. And 5 out of 7 members of our council have their roots here, or were very young when they came and have lived their lives here. So I think that brings a whole different dimension again from previous councils. The energy in the room, I can tell you there's energy in the room, and that's terrific. I appreciate. There's also that first steps of making sure that I want to understand. I've got a lot of questions. I want to do the research, and that's so important, because as new council members, and I kind of go back to 2016 when I had the pleasure of being elected the first time. Wow, it is a totally different experience. And I think if you interviewed any of the council members, long-term council members per se, for 2 terms under their belt, or new council members, there's a huge learning curve. We've went through the refresh for the serving councillors that have got experience, but the new councillors, the training, and I know it's quite an experience. And the term that's often used in the municipal world anyways that I've heard from, it's like drinking from a fire hose, because there's a lot of information and there's so much background sometimes that it just isn't what's today. What brought us to that condition of today, be it facilities, the decisions that were made to get us to this point. So there's always a lot of background that needs to be looked at, and council members are fully aware of that, and where administration and more experienced council members are sharing our knowledge with the new council, and I think it'll be a great opportunity.
All right, perfect. That covers all of the questions that I had for you today. I want to thank you again for recapping the year with me today, and thank you so much again.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to 2025 with the community, and I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and look forward to seeing everybody in 2025 as we move forward as a city.
I'm joined now with Thomas Wildman, who's going to give us our first wild look at the weather. Certainly kind of a wild day out there with all that snow, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I certainly think so. The wild weather, as you mentioned, just we had lots of snow all day yesterday. I think it's going to slow up a little bit here. There is possibly going to be some snow again tomorrow. I think it's going to be just a little less, not as high of a chance, so I don't think it will last all throughout the day. And then, as we mentioned yesterday, it's going to get a little bit better as the week goes on and into Christmas. It's going to be some low clouds, which will make for some tough visibility, but the temperatures will be a lot warmer, and so certainly something to look forward to once we get closer to Christmas and whatnot. But yeah, again, real lovely day in the border city with a high of -19 and a low of -24. Looking at the normal today, usual normal for today, a high of -6 and -16 for your low. A lot better. We're getting really close to that average precipitation though, which while unfortunate for the roads, is much appreciated for all of our farming and cattle producing friends in the great area of Lakeland here. And at the current conditions, the one really nice thing about today is that the wind is not as present. We got calm wind right now, -21. And compared to yesterday with how bad the wind was, that's why it certainly feels a lot better outside, even though it's pretty much about the same temperature. We see that's true for North Battleford as well. They've even got a little bit of sun out there. High -18 currently is what they're looking at. And in Cold Lake, a -19, very similar to us, and nice calm winds for them. Taking a look across the region here, it's pretty much the same. We're seeing -21 here in Lloydminster. We got a bunch at -20 for Marwayne and Vermilion, -19 for Vegreville, as well as Bonnyville and Lac La Biche, -17 in Wainwright and Provost, 16 out in Edmonton, and then we've also got -19 in Cold Lake, -18 in St. Paul. On the Saskatchewan side, -20 up in Isle La Crosse. Green Lake will also be at that temperature, and Maidstone. And then -21 for St. Walburg and Meadow Lake, -19 for Pierceland, North Battleford, and then Macklin, a little bit warmer at -18. For tonight in North Battleford, a low of -26. Cloudy and will be very cold. It will be a little bit breezy late, unfortunately, and there will be a flurry, about a 41% chance of precipitation there. And so certainly you'll be seeing a little bit of snow and then possibly a bit of rain as well. Cold Lake's going to be similar tonight as well, low of -25, partly to mostly cloudy, and it's going to be very cold, and a late flurry as well for them. And then here in Lloydminster, we're going to have a low of -24. It will be the warmest of the three cities here, but it will be cloudy with some rising temperatures and a bit of a late night snow, not a lot of accumulation, so still won't be nice to be shoveling out there with the snow coming down, but you should be able by tomorrow to get rid of all that snow that we've accumulated over these past 2 days. Taking a look now at the 3-day forecast, Friday is going to be pretty similar, though a little bit warmer, a bit of a morning snow as well, 55% there. It will be cold tomorrow as well with a low high of -13, low of -15. Saturday, it's going to be breezy in the morning, and then it will be cloudy throughout the whole day, -8 and -12 for your high and low there. And then on Sunday, it will be warming up a bit, but as I mentioned, those low clouds, a high of -7, a low of -9. So be careful if you're heading out to to any Christmas activities on this Sunday, as it will be some low visibility. That will do it for our first look at the weather forecast. We will have an extended look at the weather coming up at the end of the show.
The dismissal of Lakeland Rustlers head coach Chris King has garnered criticism from various parts of the sports community, including the players of the team itself, who refused to play the final 2 games of 2024 without their head coach. Our Thomas Wildman talked to one of the players about her thoughts on the situation.
Today I'm joined by Bethany Montenbaugh, a point guard for the Lakeland Rustlers women's basketball team, and she is here today to talk about the situation that took place with the Lakeland Rustlers women's basketball team at head coach. And so thank you so much for joining me today, Bethany.
Yeah, of course.
And what were the emotions that you and the team had when head coach Chris King was first suspended and then later fired, and how that affected yourself and the team?
Well, when everything first happened, starting off with the suspension, I still had hopes that he was still able to be reinstated. But regardless, like, when we were told the news, it just was very sudden. We hadn't expected it at all. There was no news of anything like that potentially happening or anything. So it was just kind of like a shot in the dark. Um, yeah, just very much pulled the rug out underneath us kind of deal. And then when he was fired, that was it was a little harder to take that one. And of course, just because we had hopes that he would be back for, the end of December, hopefully even second semester. But with that happening, obviously, chances of him being reinstated were a little bit slimmer. So.
And tell me a little bit about the impact and how important Chris King was on yourself and on the team.
Yeah. Well, this is my 4th year with Chris now, 3rd year playing for him. Chris, well, technically since my senior year was COVID year, he basically recruited me off of my grade 11 year. Previously recruiting one of my current teammates right now, Sarah. Um, so he pretty much just recruited me off of that, and then he had me come up for recruitment practice. So just even taking in the fact that he was able to recruit me from me being in grade 11, not in grade 12, I think that says a lot. And just being in his program, I just knew that I was going to be able to fulfill the potential that I see in myself a lot more underneath his guidance. I hadn't planned on sticking around for so long in Lloyd until in my 1st year. We made it to national championship, obviously, and we ended up winning bronze in Vancouver. And that was when I realized that I'm not going to be done playing basketball anytime soon. I clearly wanted to play for him, and I've stuck around even when I was injured all year last year. I stuck around then too. I just the culture that he creates and the family that he creates in Lloyd, like it's not something that you could just drop and say goodbye to very easily. So.
And finally, we're in the Christmas break right now, but what is the outlook for yourself and the team going forward?
Yeah. With that, it's still a little bit unknown. But so far it's looking like honestly we probably won't have a team next semester, which is not something that a lot of people had expected of us. But I think people also have to understand that it's a lot more than basketball now. It's not just whether we want to play or not. This is our coach, and we all came here to play for him. We all want to be in the culture that he built for us, and we have all come to love that, and that is the reason why we're so close. So it's a lot more than basketball right now. For me personally, I personally don't want to play for anybody else other than Chris. And especially even like if I go or transfer somewhere in the ACAC, it's just I don't know why I would want to play for any other coach when I know that playing for Chris, we can beat anybody else in the whole country, even. That obviously, I don't think that Chris and his family deserves this. I believe that he's a very, very good coach, and he does what he needs to do. His program is amazing. I've loved being in it. I've loved the community and the people that I have met through it. It's given me so much, and I couldn't be any more thankful for this program and what he's created. So I just hope that, someday, somehow we get it back.
Thank you so much for all the information today, Bethany.
The Lloydminster Catholic School Division was host to numerous events over the calendar year, as well as receiving community support throughout the year. Our Callan Dunlop sat down with the Director of Education for the Catholic School Division for a recap of 2024.
Today I'm joined by Nigel McCarthy, Director of Education for the Lloyd Catholic School Division. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me here today. It's a wonderful time to get to sit and talk about the year.
Exactly. It's the holidays. We're here to talk about everything lively that happened during the year for the Lloyd Catholic School Division. To start, I really want to just get your personal emotions tied towards the year of 2024.
Well, I think 2024 has really been a year of hope, where we've been able to look forward, not only with what's happening in schools, but what's happening with the growth of our community, and so much charity and volunteerism that we're seeing not only with our kids, but also with parents coming into our schools and being part of everything that we do.
I want to jump into some of the community aspect of the year. Father Gorman's playground is the main topic that I wanted to talk about. Such a turnaround from what was tragedy to what turned into a new playground. So can you talk a little bit about the behind the scenes work and to what we have today?
Well, I think first, all of our schools and Father Gorman are really a gift to our community. And what we discovered in responding to this event was how much the community values what goes on at Father Gorman School. Our business community, engaged by our trustees and our both sides of government, really just immediately stepped up and stepped to the fore. I had calls from people who grew up in Lloydminster who, now live in Red Deer or further away, and said, how can I help? So within a few weeks, we had a new playground ordered. And then by Thanksgiving, it arrived. And then 9 days later, we were finished a playground. So it's only when a community comes together like that you can really do something that usually takes a year or 2 years in a matter of weeks. And really it was just a gift to all the teachers that work at Father Gorman, and they spoke about this, that it really felt like this was a time where what we do every day was just appreciated by everyone that's attended that school in the past. And the little boy who jumped up and said, best day ever, the day that we opened up the playground, summed it up better than even I could.
And it was just a great gift to the community. I wanted to pivot to Holy Rosary High School. And just the high school as a whole is constantly going through expansions, getting things added to it. Can you talk about Holy Rosary throughout the year?
Well, Holy Rosary has now grown to 1,203 students this fall, which becomes a really big school. It's the size of a small town. And all the things that are going on there day to day, that we discover new and creative ways to engage with our kids. This year it's been new golf. We'll be opening up a rowing center in the new year for university level rowing. Our teachers engaging with the advanced placement programming, which is more popular than ever, and our students, 72% of our students heading off to college after graduation. And I mean, the class of 2024, when you went to the graduation, you could look across the gymnasium and see kids who are artists, who are artisans, who are academics, who have this incredible future in front of them. And for all of us, those that began with them in kindergarten, to those who taught them in grade 9, to those who watched them graduate, it really is a gift to be part of teaching in this community.
That's a great sentiment there. I wanted to pivot, since you were mostly talking about academics there, but the Lloyd Catholic Division is very known for their sports in the community. Can you talk a little bit about how the athletics were for the year?
Well, getting to host a provincial tournament this fall, and seeing kids from across the province walk into Holy Rosary, and to begin that whole weekend with hundreds of families coming to visit us, just with a prayer where everybody stood up, and then watching those teams compete for the whole weekend, and seeing our boys measure themselves, and indeed as our girls have measured themselves with competition from across the province, was something special for our community. I got to drive to Grand Prairie and watch our senior boys football win the provincial championships against their rival for many years, Cochrane, and that was a special moment too, not only for all of us in the stands, but I think for our coaches and our grade 12s and all of our kids. A snowy day in the north of the province, and to get to compete in that way and come out on top was incredible. But it's not just that. It's the kids training for cross-country running. It's the students who are starting out now their basketball season. It's just an exciting place to be. And all of that foundation is really built in our elementary schools' athletics programs, where kids learn resilience, where kids learn how to win and sometimes how to lose. and through that build the character of champions.
Perfect. I like that sentiment there. That covered all of my questions that I had for the year. Were there any last points that you'd like to make? Anything that we might have missed regarding the year, and then also looking forward into the new year, if there's anything to note there?
Well, I think in a year like this that's been so full of hope, it's really the hope that comes from charity. And we've seen throughout the fall so many charitable endeavors building the capacity and character of our students, whether it's our Halloween for Hunger program that the community supported for food banks across the city, you know, where we do our Christmas concerts and there's a little 50-50, or where we do our Mass and our kids bring their donations up to the front, something that they brought in. All of these things that show charity build a community and a better Lloydminster in the future, where we learn that the person across the street or the person that we've never spoken to has the gifts that come out of our system and from our children with them here at Christmas. And I hope that as we move forward into the season of Christmas here, that hope and that charity is really what marks us in the days to come.
Perfect. Well, that covers everything there. Thank you so much for coming down to the station to recap the year with me.
Well, thank you very much for hosting us, and again, a Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Spark Foundation of Lloydminster went through big and exciting changes this year, including a complete rebranding of the organization. Abby St. John has more.
2024 is coming to an end, and for Spark Foundation of Lloydminster, it was a very busy and exciting year. And I'm happy to be joined today by Spark Foundation CEO Angela Rooks-Truchzik to go through the highlights from this year and their plans for 2025. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, Spark Foundation had some exciting things happen this year. The biggest one being in September, the Interval Home Society rebranded into Spark Foundation of Lloydminster. So we're going to start there. Tell me a little bit about what the process was like and ultimately the decision to rebrand.
Yeah. Well, it was an interesting process because we have 45 years of history as the Lloydminster Interval Home Society. So we didn't want to lose that history, but it was time for us to have a new identity because we do so much more programming under the umbrella of preventing and responding to domestic violence. So we wanted to kind of separate the foundation from the work that it does and really kind of help the community understand better everything that we actually do. And of course, the name Spark, it was my first choice. It was like, although we went out to staff and had, big conversations around kind of what our name should be. And that was a really exciting process. Just exploring who we wanted to be in this new phase of our history. And Spark came out on top because it's an energetic word. It for me, it makes me want to jump out of my chair and get to work and make the community a better place to live. And it's about sparking change, sparking innovation, sparking hope. It's really that word spark that you can tell it makes me excited.
Yes, I will say I love the name Spark, and I think it definitely represents what you do as an organization, and it does give a sense of hope and new beginnings. With this transition from the Interval Home Society to Spark Foundation, was it difficult, or what was that transition like?
It wasn't necessarily difficult. Of course, we had habits of calling ourselves the Interval Home, so I mean, those were hard to change, but all of the people we've spoken to love the name. They are excited by it. They think it suits us perfectly. It's really about sparking positive change in the community, and people can really get behind that. So it hasn't, I mean, people still refer to us as the Interval Home. That will probably be for our lifetime. But for the most part, people are referring us to the Spark Foundation of Lloydminster, or Spark for short. So yeah, it's been an exciting process.
Wonderful. I'm glad the community feedback has been positive. Spark was the perfect choice for the name. Now, along with the rebranding, you do so much for the community throughout the year. So, other than this rebrand, what were some of the other highlights?
Yeah, I mean, we could go start with the statistics. I know people want to know how much or how many folks have been through the emergency shelter and through our domestic violence programming. And we had 512 people come through all of our domestic violence programming. So on the response side of things, we've helped 512 people get back on their feet, provide safe shelter, and then help them get back on their feet. At LCYC, people always want to know how many youth we're seeing, and we had over 6,000 visits at LCYC, which is the most we've had in my time since 2016 when we amalgamated. We also actually we moved from pilot into solidified programming with the mental health youth navigator. So that was exciting to be able to implement. And that was funding from Synovus that allowed us to do that. And that position was really connecting youth, fast tracking a connection for youth from themselves and support at LCYC back into community with some community supports that they need. So it's fast tracking that connection for youth so that they're not falling through the cracks. So that was an exciting program we did at LCYC. I think the caseload there is 30 youth. So there is a need for support for youth directly and reconnecting them to community. What else have we done? We consolidated Impact Depot and For the Interval store. So we're back to one location. We took what we learned from running Impact Depot and remembered and all the wonderful things that were previous to our expansion, and now we're back in one location with our history and with our new learning, and we're rocking it out over at For the Interval store. And we do have a new name coming for FIS as well.
That sounds amazing. And the amount of work Spark does and being able to help so many people get out of terrible situations, it's truly amazing. And the fact that the youth are taking advantage of the programs is also incredible. I'm also excited to hear about what the new name for the Interval Home Store will be in the new year. So that's very exciting. And that actually brings me to my next question. What are some of the other plans you have for 2025?
Yeah, well, we will be, like you said, launching our new name for the Interval store. So we will be having a grand reopening in May. So that's when we will unveil. We have the name, can't tell you, but we will be unveiling it in May. So that's really something exciting because the For the Interval store has been in the community since 1992. It started in a volunteer's garage and has now evolved into the location that it's at now. So it has quite a storied history in our community as well. So we're excited to keep it going and really focus on For the Interval store and making sure that our community, our clients, first and foremost, are supported with the donations that come to us. And then whatever is left over is sold back to the community with the funds coming right back into programming. So the donations that we get are amazing, and the shoppers that come in are really cool as well. It's an eclectic bunch, and we love it. What else are we doing next year? Continuing to work on some of our pathways of care in our client work. So making sure our clients are connected quickly and efficiently to the community support they need. So going out as well as coming into the services of the Lloydminster, the Spark Foundation of Lloydminster. See, I almost said For the Interval or for Interval Home. So we're still practicing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's lots to look forward to. Focusing on For the Interval store, like I said, and just continuing to kind of streamline our services in and out for the best and most efficient response we can give to the clients that come to us in need.
Well, it seems like there's a lot to look forward to from Spark Foundation in the new year, especially with the grand reopening in May. Again, you guys do incredible work in this community. It's something that's needed and makes a huge impact on the community as a whole. So, thank you so much for joining me today, and I wish you the best of luck for the new year.
Thank you, and to you as well.
Coming up after the break, we will have an extended look at your weather.
We're going to take a look here at the weather forecast now. Looking at the current temperatures across the central region, Lloydminster is at -22 right now. We see -20 for Cold Lake and Athabasca. A bit further west, our friends are a little bit warmer in Edmonton at -17, -13 for Edson and Rocky Mountain House, -15 for Whitecourt and Red Deer. Saskatchewan side, it's a little chillier, -22 in Meadow Lake, -20 for North Battleford and Saskatoon and Melfort, and then -19 for Prince Albert. Taking a look down south, seeing similar temperatures on the Saskatchewan side, -18 in Kindersley, Swift Current, Moose Jaw, Yorkton, and then -19 down at the border for Estevan and -20 for Regina. On the Alberta side, it's -19 for Coronation, -14 for Medihat, as well as Calgary, and then -9 for Lethbridge, with it being quite a bit warmer in Banff right now at -1. Taking a look at tomorrow's forecast here in the border city, it's going to be at 6 a.m. We are going to see those flurries as mentioned earlier in the show, -20 at that time, 42% chance of precipitation with that. At noon, it will still be a little bit cloudy at a high of -15. That'll stick around until the evening at -15 once again. Mostly clear, and then it will warm up a tiny bit overnight. Will be cloudy at a high of -14. Taking a look at North Battleford for tomorrow, a high of -14. They'll be cold with a little snow at times. Should be about accumulation of 1 centimeter, and will be windy in the morning, 65% chance of that snow coming down. -13 in Cold Lake. It will be cold with some snow at times. That'll accumulate to about 1 centimeter or 3, and 88% chance of that precipitation coming down. Taking a look now at the travel forecast, we're going to be seeing snow across the local region here, Meadow Lake, Bonnyville, Provost, Isle of Cross, all seeing some snow as high as -14, and then is a little bit, and then a little bit warmer at Provost for -9. And then now looking at the 7-day forecast, we're mentioned earlier it's going to snow on Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday we're going to see some snow, small clouds. Monday it's going to warm up to -3 and -7 for your Eve. There will be some clouds, but it'll give way to the sun. On Christmas Eve, we'll get up to 1 degree at -7, and then on Christmas, -1 and -10, which should finish out into next Wednesday or Thursday as well.
So it looks like other than Friday, we got a stroke of some killer snow. The rest of the week is going to be pretty good, pretty nice for Christmas. You know, it's still in the minuses, so we will have that snow, but should be a nice week for Christmas. That's all the time we have for Primetime Local News. Thanks for watching.